call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors to order, and we'll start with roll call. Mrs. Krentz.
Here.
Mr. Tim.
Here.
Mr. Piaski.
Here.
Mr. Weddy.
Here.
Mr. Downey.
Here.
Mr. Eckstein.
Here.
Mrs. Salata.
Here.
Mr. Weiss. Here. Mr. Likeness.
Here.
Mr. Crawford. Here. Mr. Kirschner's excused. We'll stand now for a silent prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, we have our public comments, and our Sheriff David Peterson would like to.
Thank you. In a few weeks, you will be asked to approve the 2011 Waushara County budget. I have previously provided you with information from Attorney General J.B. Van Hollen related to the importance of public safety. As you make the tough decisions necessary during the current economic crisis, I would like you to remember and consider the following. There comes a time when increases in wages and benefits over and above the allowable revenue limits cannot be taken from daily operational costs. We have reached a point where the only means of meeting your budget mandates is a reduction in staff. Reduction of staff means reduction in services. Reduction in services means the potential inability to respond to quality of life issues such as noise complaints, barking dogs, non-reportable vehicle crashes, stray animals, inmate accountability, suspicious persons, short-term utility interruptions, community education and awareness, and trash dumping. These issues may seem minor and or trivial unless you are the person involved. This may be the only contact citizens have with public safety personnel. Without the trust and cooperation of citizens on these quality of life issues, public safety will not have the lines of communication that will enable us to more efficiently resolve criminal cases. I will continue to work towards presenting a budget that balances the county board's directive with providing a quality service to residents and visitors in Waushara County. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Now we need approval of our amended agenda.
I so move.
Second.
Second by Donna Colada. Any discussion on the amended agenda?
Aye.
Oh, it's been approved. Minutes of our August 10th meeting, how you find? Motion by Bill Downey to approve, second by Larry. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that's been approved. There's no old business tonight, but we do have new business. And we're gonna start out with a presentation from Administrative Coordinator Deb Behringer.
Hi, I promise I'll keep this really short and sweet because I think the next issue that we'll be dealing with is much more important. Just a little demographic information. I'm going to start with the year 2002, and you'll see why in a minute. In 2002, the unemployment for Waushara County in July was 6%, and this July it's at 9.1%. So if you base that on a 25,000 population, we had 1,500 people in 2002 without work, and so about almost 2,000 would be now. So things are tough for people. Let's see. All right. The reason I picked 2002 is that was the first time I really looked at some demographics. If you'll remember, back in 2002, they were saying that we were not going to have enough workers, that we were going to run out of workers. The United States was going to run out of workers, the aging workforce. And so I did some comparisons. So the yellow or the greenish is from 2002, and the dark blue is from 2010, looking at those same age brackets. So if you look across on the yellow, our 40 to 50 age group in 2002 was the biggest percentage of our employee demographics. Now in 2010, you see it's kind of moved a little bit to the right. So now it's that next decade, we're in the next decade. So we are kind of staying true to that in that our workforce is aging. The 20 to 29 population did go up quite significantly compared to what it was. And I think a lot of that has to do with our EMTs, quite honestly. I think that's where you're going to see the number. But we are staying fairly true to form in that our employee demographics is getting older. And then I just thought, just out of curiosity, I compared that with the federal government for what's going on in the federal government right now. And so you can see that our biggest group is the 50 to 68 range. If you look at the federal, it is the 41 to 49 age group. So we are older than the federal demographics. The county also, we have quite a few people, believe it or not, still working 65 plus, and that doesn't count any county board supervisors. I just need you to know that. That's just strictly employees. And just another thing I looked at in 2002 is the light blue color, and 2010 is the more maroon color, and that just shows, based on budget, in 2002 would be actual expenses, and then 2010 would be the budgeted expenses. So you can see, just looking at that graph, basically how we are supporting our programs. So education and recreation, that would be parks and extension, that stayed about the same. Conservation and development's gone up a little bit. General government is all those categories that don't fit in anywhere else, that's gone up a little bit. Public safety has gone up quite a bit. Public works and public safety, we support those about the same amount. Health and human services is that last category. That has gone down a little bit, and the analysis, it looks like that's because of family care, that we don't, the state has taken over that program. And the other thing I thought was rather interesting, in 2002, as far as our management report from our auditor, we had $800,000 in delinquent taxes. When we started 2010 this year, we had 1.2 on the books of delinquent taxes. Elaine just came in because they had the July settlements, and we were up to 1.535 million that we have in delinquent taxes. A year ago at this time, we had 1.525. So you can see that, you know, almost 300,000 is paid between July and the actual end of the year last year. So we're hoping that the payments will continue. So anyways, just a brief little demographic information. Does anybody have any comments or questions about anything? Because that's it. That's all I got. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Deb. Very interesting. Now we're going to have the tower concept, the bump Castle Wireless, and Steve Schneider is going to give us a presentation.
Thank you. I had a chance to speak with some of your committees over the last couple of months, and I guess just first, who are we? We've been around Waushara County for the last couple of years. I'll say there's 3 less unemployed people coming up here because we've interviewed a bunch of people and have 3 positions that we'll be filling in Waushara County. We provide cellular service. You've never probably heard of us providing cellular service because we private label it as AT&T or T-Mobile, and primarily in Waushara County, we've been doing services for other companies. However, in the last 6 months, we've started providing our own services, primarily to provide high-speed internet, and as such, we've built a number of towers, West Bloomfield, Saxville, north of Wild Rose, and right now we have about 14 towers that we either own or that we're sharing with other companies on existing towers. We've been meeting with the Sheriff's Department a little bit and the emergency services and talking about their needs and our needs, and we don't like building towers unless we absolutely need to. And at this point in time, we have some towers that your county emergency management folks could utilize to expand the coverage of their radios and so on. And I'm not an expert on your exact needs, but you also have some towers that we would like to utilize, specifically your Coloma site on the hill looking down Highway 21 to the west. Some new towers that I understand you're considering or approving potentially building, particularly north of Wautoma and near Plainfield. And so what we're proposing is that we do some tower sharing where we would put some antennas on your towers, you would put antennas on our towers. It would save you having to rent space on other folks' towers or building your own towers in those three cases. It saves us some money and allows us to be more competitive and hopefully employ more people in the county. So it's something where it's really simply a swap and an exchange of towers. I'm not sure if the board has been given any information or briefed on this at all. I do have a handout that indicates what we're looking at, as well as some maps. On the maps, on the maps, the colors mean something on here. Any little triangle that is red is an existing tower that we've turned on and are providing high-speed internet in rural areas. You've probably heard a lot about that in the past year, and there's been stimulus money and so on, and we didn't get any stimulus money, but we're doing it anyway because we think it's good economic development and it's good growth areas. We rolled out service here about 3 weeks ago on a soft basis. We have about 200 customers at this point that have signed up in Waushara County, so the take rate has been actually very good. So the red towers are existing. If it has a green circle around it, that tower doesn't exist today. So, and the blue ones, the blue triangles are the county's towers, approximate location. I don't have all the counties on here. I just have the ones that we've been looking at participating with. So the three large blue triangles are your towers that we would put antennas on. The three large red triangles, Saxville, Red Granite, and Poisippi, are towers of ours that you would put antennas on. So it's simply a trade of services, space on your tower for space on our tower. But this also gives you an idea of where we have existing services in the county. The blue circles are future towers that someone in your zoning department will probably be hearing from us at some point over the next 2 to 3 years, where there aren't any existing towers or structures and there's holes in everyone's network in those areas that we would like to fill in. When we get done, Waushara County will have better service than Milwaukee, Madison, Green Bay, or Appleton. Our biggest problem is AT&T wants us to choke the amount of service we provide back because they don't want a customer from Appleton or Madison or Milwaukee to come out here and get 5 times the speed that they can get in Appleton. So they're saying that they don't want to use our network for their customers unless we choke it to 1 megabyte per second, but we're actually providing up to 7 megabytes per second. Now, our customers that sign up for Bug Tussle will get the 7 megabytes, and we'll choke it back to make AT&T look good for their Appleton customers. Just for their customers, it'll get choked. So it's a pretty simple proposal. Are there any questions or?
Term choke it back, I don't understand that, I'm sorry.
When we broadcast our high-speed internet, our sites are actually broadcasting at 14.4 megabytes per second. We can restrict a user to getting 700 kilobytes or 1 megabyte or 7 megabytes. And on our customers, we choke it somewhat to 7 megabytes. And one of the reasons we do that is because we provide other services where we're guaranteeing other people's service. And we've talked to your emergency management folks. One of the things that we can do is we could provide channels on our network so that their cell phones would work in an emergency, and it would actually bump other people off if an officer or someone in an emergency role needs to use the system. Similarly, we can choke back or limit the amount of bandwidth. And AT&T is saying, when our customers come here from Appleton, we don't want it to look like you're 5 times as fast as we are in Appleton, so we want you to limit their devices to 1 megabyte per second. And we can do that. We just simply look at AT&T's code. When we see an AT&T customer, we only give them 1 megabyte. When we see a Bug Tussle customer, we give them the full 7 megabytes.
How near to those towers does a subscriber have to be?
Generally 3 to 4 miles, although topography plays a role, both good and bad. You know, if the tower's here and you're up on a hill over here and you're 7 miles away, we can probably service you. If you're a half mile away and you're at the bottom of a valley with trees and rocks between you and the tower, probably will have difficulty or need to put an external antenna. So, you know, I'm not avoiding the question, but it really depends on what's between you and the tower. But general rule of thumb, 4 miles. We figure you have really good solid service, 4-mile radius, so, 8-mile diameter around the tower.
I also called and they said they would bring the box out and see if, we could, use their equipment because, you never know. And with another internet company, they might just install and you have what you have. But they did say they would bring it out and test it before they sign us up.
That's our standard procedure. Before you sign up, we come out, we make sure you've got good signal, test it. We do trials for people. We're going to be rolling out our cell phone service here sometime before the holidays. So, that'll be an added thing because there's probably 7 of our towers that the other carriers, no one has good solid in-building service to those buildings. But the other thing is we want to be a part of the community. We're hiring local people. We want, in fact, I've got a requirement. If you're our sales rep in Poisippi, I want somebody who's lived in Poisippi for some time, not somebody that's driving from 30 miles away and don't know the folks in Poisippi or in Wild Rose or wherever. So we go through quite a screening process on, hiring our people to make sure that they're people who know the people in the local community.
Do you have an office in Moshere County?
We do not, and I'm sort of up in the air on that. What we're finding is a lot of people buy online, or a lot of people like direct sales. And if we're going to be competitive with the big carriers and provide better service, we have to watch our costs really closely. And it costs a lot of money to man an office for the hours that we want, and oftentimes we're manning it from 8 to 5, but people are at work from 8 to 5, so they really want evening hours. So, we've found that doing the sales reps that come right to your home is more convenient and costs us a lot less money. Now, what I am looking at, in fact, we looked at a building right on Main Street here. What I would like to do at some point is have like a training center, because one of our other things is we put on classes to teach people how to use the internet, different sites, different ways, to create your own small business online. And I think those are good economic development things that have been very well received. We did some trials on that in Calumet County. We just rolled it out in Sauk County. And it's very well received. A lot of times we'll hear, well, nobody's going to buy that service in that area because it's rural, or our population is older than the average population. What we've found is if you train older people how to use the internet, they use it more than younger people. And I can say that with my own family. My dad is 75 and swore he would never touch a computer, and you can't get him off of it now because he plays sheephead on it. He plays Yahoo games. He's got fantasy football going. So people do use it. It's a good pastime, and it's a good tool.
very much.
Thank you.
We're going to continue on with the tower concept a little later on our agenda, and that's when Dave Peters is going to help us and Mark is going to help us with more information. So now we're going to go for a discussion of possible action items, the updated employee network, internet, and email procedures. 'Cause
I'll make a motion to approve.
we have a motion by Donna to approve. Do we have a second? Second by Larry. Any discussion on it?
The only discussion I have, that I saw is this back page, where the employee signs and prints their name and the date. I really think that it would be in our best interest to have someone witness the signature, and I think there should be a line added for a witness to the signature.
That'll be in your motion to approve with that line for witness. And Larry Crawford, would you go along with that on your second? Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on it now? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now revised rules and bylaws of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised rules and bylaws as presented.
Okay, we got a motion by Dennis Quinn. Do we have a second? Second by Everett Scott. Any discussion on this? Bill?
What about the census? Will that affect the size of committees or the possibility of changing the number of members of this board?
Oh, definitely when we get that done, but this is for the present time, and then they'll be updated at that time, Bill.
Get the report that we have a new sentence. When is that gonna come?
We might start getting some preliminary information fairly soon, but it takes about 6 months for them to totally get it all together and put it out.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor. Do we have any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now we get into the tower concept, and at this time, our Sheriff David Peterson,
As you might remember, this whole tower thing was really driven by the fact that the federal government has mandated that we go to narrow banding, and which is going to mean that in order for public safety, EMS, and especially fire departments to continue to operate as we are with radio communications and paging, that we're going to have more towers. And if you recall, I believe it was last month, we had a resolution to get some funds to do a structural analysis of towers that we wanted to be on, and because we're going to have to hang some additional equipment. So we've started with that, and we also developed an RFP to go out for bids so we could come back with some dollars attached to this. And like I told you previously, this is not a cheap project. This is going to cost some major dollars, and we wanted to get the most bang for our buck. Well, after we let the RFPs out, is when kind of run into Steve, and I think that we had come up with a better idea, so we had a public safety and radio communications committee meeting, and Steve was there. And one of my concerns is that, you know, once you get the money to do the project, there's all the funds that we need every year for the rent and the maintenance and all of that. And that's something that's really hard to predict, and even harder still to budget for. And so in talking to Steve and the two committees, it just seemed like a great, we could establish a relationship with one company. It would mean we had originally intended on only building one tower, that being in Plainfield. But if we build an additional tower, because as we were concerned, it doesn't appear that the tower we're on Double M currently is going to be able to handle the additional equipment that we're going to need to hang on it. So we were going to have to find another tower or build another tower anyway. So once the RFP comes in, we're going to have to probably go back and try to get some, amend that or some more information. But the nice part of it is, Washare County already owns a tower in Coloma. There is nobody else on it except us. The height that Steve's company needs to be on is available. We've talked to a private individual in the Plainfield area, and it appears, although we haven't have anything in writing and that, but it appears, and as far as I'm concerned, the guy is good for his word, but it appears that we will be able to acquire a piece of property in Plainfield at no cost, other than we're going to have to permit him to continue using space on what we will build as our tower. So that will hold some of our initial land acquisition costs down. And then because we could not go on the tower in Double M, there is a piece of property that the county already owns on 17th Drive north of 22, which is close enough to Double M that they believe that it meets the studies that we did as far as coverage. And as luck would have it, it's a place where Steve's company was looking at getting something a little bit closer to the Wild Rose area. So it met all of our needs. Also, he was tired of paying rent over in the Plainfield area, so he's more than willing to give up paying that rent and come with us. So we would have 3 towers. Washare County needs a total of 6 towers. Steve's company already has 2 towers built that meet the location requirements, the height requirements, the spaces available, we believe, to put our equipment on it. Those are already built, and he is willing to build a third tower, which is in a location that will benefit him and it will benefit us. So there's going to be probably a little greater initial cost to Washare County, but I think it's when you can barter and trade and it's mutually beneficial, I think that we could have a long-standing relationship with Steve's company. What I've given you is just kind of a graph that shows, because although the agenda item says tower concept, if you build a tower and you don't have any equipment hanging on it, it's not worth a whole lot. So this kind of just goes over what the various equipment is that we'll need to put on all of the towers. As of right now, we do not have a dollar figure that we can put on that, but for those of you that were on the county board back, I believe, when we did the first radio communications plan, that was a 5 or 6 year plan, what we did at that time is we came here to get the county board to approve the concept, and then we had to come back at a later date and let you know what that's going to cost. So what the committees decided to do was to bring this to the county board to approve the concept, and there's several of the county board members that have sat in those meetings, and I think we were all in agreement that it should be beneficial in the long term for us and for Steve's company. We anticipate the plan is that we will have real dollars associated with the plan for your October meeting. Well, we'll have it for the public safety and radio study committee meetings before that, but then we'd be able to bring that to the county board with some dollars attached to it. So, if you have any questions about any of this technical stuff that's on here, I guess I'd defer to Mark or Steve.
What's the problem with the tower on Double M?
There's not enough space to hang the equipment we need on it. The tower in the center of the county and the closest to Watoma is going to be our main hub, if you will. And we have to, if you look on this in Watoma, we have to we have to be able to hang 4 microwave dishes on that.
But just making it taller wouldn't work.
It's not our tower.
Oh, okay.
We're already renting on that one. It's not our tower. It's
Charter, isn't it?
Charter. I always say the wrong company, but, so it's not our tower.
Plus the age of it is getting up.
Yeah, and that's probably the first tower, one of the very first towers that was built here. And as you can imagine, land acquisition and utilities and things like that are a big ticket item. So I think we've kind of come to an agreement on that. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, one of the things that would be nice to have is 3-phase power. And just this summer, the county put in 3-phase power to that site.
Now, if we're gonna approve this concept, we're gonna have to have a motion on the floor, and then we can start with a lot of questions and so forth. This is just a concept, so we bring it back to the board. Bill?
Concept.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
By Donna Colada. Go ahead now with your questions. We got Mark Gasky here can answer questions, Steve can answer, Dave can answer questions.
Is there any estimate on the life of one of those towers? Or haven't anybody around long enough to?
I'll defer to Steve because he's in the tower construction business too.
Generally, we figure 50 years. Older towers may not have that life because they weren't built for the ice loading that they're built for today. So basically, a tower that's built today has to be able to handle 2 inches of ice accumulation on it, which is a lot of extra weight. And so they're built very well, and 50 years is probably conservative. Once it's in the air and the foundations are in the ground, you have a little bit of maintenance about every 5 to 7 years to check the guy wires and check the bolt system, and then I'm self-supported, but they last a very long time.
Thank you.
And if you'll notice on this sheet is that the one on north of Watoma, we're looking at a guided tower there because of the additional weight and wind resistance and all that, as opposed to the one in Plainfield where we're anticipating a self-supporting one.
I think for myself, when we started this study or started looking at these towers, we were looking at possibly having to build 5 towers. And now if we can partner with Steve and build only 2 towers, it's like, I mean, there's no comparison, to the cost that it would have been with 5 and now with 2. So it's a good thing that Dave and Steve found each other and maybe we can go that way. I truly, my personal opinion is that would be the way to go.
I agree with Donna on that. We do have to do something, and I do sit on the Radio Communication Study Committee, and I was part of that original plan, that 5-year plan that we had. It seemed to work out pretty well, and I'm thinking this is a step in the right direction.
What is the current status in Poisippi?
The tower that we're on in Poisippi is that one that's partway up the hill. And it really is a very old tower. It's very low. We had originally thought that we could maybe get on one of the other 2 towers in Poisippi and rent space on there. For whatever reason, Steve believes that that's not the best for his company. So that is the one that I believe that Steve's company is looking at building another tower in that same general area.
We're on the U.S. cellular tower now, which when we go to the next generation technology for broadband that we've been deploying elsewhere in the county, they don't have enough space on that. So if we put our antennas on there, we couldn't put our antennas on and definitely couldn't put the county's and ours on there. So we had looked at that as a build site with or without the county. We were going to be coming forward to put a site at that Poisippi. So we didn't change to accommodate the county. We just said, hey, by the way, we're going to be putting a site up in Poisippi if you want that.
And the nice part about that is we won't have to do a structural analysis of the existing tower, and the tower then can be built with their needs and our needs in mind. The other thing is that a lot of our stuff is going to be from the top up, because they're going to be the antennas. And my understanding is Steve's stuff is what you see on that triangular, whatever it is at the top of his stuff is on. So, and we can be close to his stuff because the frequencies will not interfere with each other. And he does not need to be at the very top.
We've also agreed to do the structural analysis on any of the towers that we go on, as well as on our towers for you to go on, which should save some dollars along the way.
Any more questions?
I guess for those of you that know me, I'm generally pretty suspicious of people like Steve as a salesman, but I was very comfortable with him, and the dealings we've had with him. I think he's a pretty square shooter, and is not out to sell us a bill of goods, and he will have to drive through Waushare County. So we anticipate a continued good working relationship.
Yes, Joe?
I guess from the zoning committee, we've dealt with their company probably for every tower they put in the county here in the rural areas, and Terry can probably attest to it. They've been very good to work with. Everything's, ducks are all in order, and everything's done very well.
Any more questions before we call for the vote on it? Not? All in favor of this concept, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That concept has been approved, and it'll be brought back now when we start looking into all the costs. Okay, now we've got consideration and possible action on the following resolution and ordinances.
Here, Resolution 34-9 of 10, it's a resolution approving the issuance of revenue bonds by Wisconsin Bond Issuing Commission for the Adams-Columbia Electric Co-op project.
I make a motion to approve. Larry, to approve.
And I'll second that.
Mrs. Krantz. And we have Keith Way here from the Adams Columbia. He will give us a little information on it.
How much information I give you, I just was asked to come and answer any questions if you had any. This is just another source of revenue for us. It saves us some money over time. The amount of money we're borrowing over 3 years, and it's all been designated to projects in designated townships. We've had proposed projects on the books and waiting to go. We had to submit those. If we don't do those projects listed, the money has to be used in that township, so we'd either have to do another project or return the money. So it's just another source of revenue for us. It saves us some money because it's like a discounted rate through this bonding. So, questions?
All we're doing is allowing the bonding. We're not involved in the bonding, or there's no expense for us on this.
Yes, that was my next question, is can somebody explain the county's involvement with it? It's just basically endorsing it?
Endorsing it, that's correct. Yes, Everett.
We dealt with this at the town board in Springwater last night and approved it, and we just assumed any money saved would be naturally passed on to their consumers.
Passed on to our consumers to help save raising the rates and
Right.
keep our costs down. So.
Any questions on it? Hearing none, all in favor of this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
Next, we have Ordinance 529, and ordinance amending Waushare County Code, Chapter 14, Article 2, Emergency Management.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Dennis Weddy. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved.
And we have Ordinance 530, and ordinance amending Waushare County Code, Chapter 22, Article 3, Smoking.
This is updating our smoking.
I'll move to approve it.
Motion by Everett, signed, approve, and
I'll second it then.
second by Dennis Weddy. Any discussion on it? Hearing none, all in favor of this, say aye.
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 Opposed? That's been approved.
And we have ordinance 531, an ordinance amending Washera County zoning maps pursuant to the authority granted in Chapter 58 of the county code. It's a zone change for Paul and Cheryl Olson in the town of Aurora.
Motion by Joe Piasky, second by Larry Crawford. Any discussion on it? Yes.
I was wondering why the parcel map on the third page doesn't match the one on the fourth page.
Terry's here.
Map on the fourth page is a site plan presented by the applicant.
It's not the whole parcel?
This is, the parcel map is the third page, and that was prepared for tax purposes. And this is a site plan prepared by the applicant.
So they don't have to worry about the rest of the parcel, or what?
Well, we don't have to probably worry about those skinny little pieces that stand out of it, those old vacated roads. That's what the small piece down in the mill pond is. You know, changing that to multifamily wouldn't make any difference because it's not gonna be built on one there. And I'm pretty sure that one to the north is also a vacated road.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Now we got one proclamation, September Juror Appreciation Month. We need a motion to approve that. Larry Crawford, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's been approved. Any other suggestions for further items for next month? Motion by everybody next time to adjourn. Crawford, all in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
He doesn't make a motion that you have to sit on next time. 'Cause you
And you still have time to vote, folks, if you haven't voted yet.
Oh, no, I meant to write my button and I forgot.
Nice birthday today.
Oh, happy birthday, Everett. Happy birthday.
Did you bring cake?
No, I know, come on.